A very good afternoon to everyone, and I welcome you all to this fourth session of the TOCOIndia TOCO, an online lecture series on the tobacco control in India. I am Dr. Prashant Kumar Singh. I work as a scientist E with the Division of Preventive Oncology and Population Health, and I'm also coordinate the activities of the WHO FCTC Knowledge Hub on the smokeless tobacco. For today's, we are having a very interesting discussion and the presentation on the tobacco warnings, existing rules and challenges. And I am delighted to welcome one of the most known faces in the tobacco control and the public health when it comes about the laws, legal aspects, and how this has to be put forth in terms of various courts and the judgments in India. I am honored to welcome Mr. Ranjit Singh, whom I know for last 4 years or so, and he has been so helpful for us to draft many of our reports, which ultimately led to a very conclusive decisions both at the policy and the programs levels. So, welcome Ranjit ji to this online webinar. And for those who don't know about the Ranjit and would like to know that what is his experiences and the education qualification. So I would be very briefly tell you about his bios. So Mr. Ranjit Singh, an alumnus of the National Law School, Bengaluru, and Law Faculty, Delhi, is attorney at law in the Supreme Court of India. He has been providing extensive support and guidance to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, ICMR, NICPR, our institute, National Institute of Health and Family Welfare, NIHW, New Delhi, and to various state tobacco control cells and various non-government organizations on tobacco control, as well as various aspects of the public health laws for more than a decade. He has contributed in drafting and defending tobacco control and laws banning e-cigarettes for the government of India. He has published several studies, journals, articles on tobacco control and food safety laws. So with this, I would like to welcome Ranjit ji once again to this webinar, and very small housekeeping stuff which I would like to make at this stage is that during the presentation, if you have any questions or the clarification, please write down in the chat box. Our team will pick those questions at the end of the presentation, and then we could actually leverage Mr. Singh's experience to respond to those questions. So now I would like to invite Ranjit ji to start his talk.
Thank you, Prashant, for the lovely introduction. And yes, we have a very interesting topic. And as far as tobacco control is concerned, we all know there are enough reasons for why you need tobacco control. And there are enough laws to deal with tobacco control. But health warning is something that India takes pride on. And we are in the top 10 countries. We started with third, we are in top 10 countries. A lot of countries, especially the neighboring countries, are one of the best examples globally on this aspect of tobacco control. And we have ample data to show that since the warning has come out, there has been a huge reduction in tobacco prevalence from the previous report, GATS report, to the latest one. So all in one, it's been a very long battle to get that, but I'll just share you some details of this there. Just a second, sorry. Do you have my screen on? Can you see the screen?
Yes, Ranjit.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, tobacco warnings, and thank you, Prashant, and thank you, NICPR, for bringing it into discussion, because somewhere we forgot that that the best example that we have on tobacco control is tobacco warnings. And because we achieved a lot, we have stopped looking at its efficacy. And therefore, the existing rules as well as the challenges in implementation, whether it is having the right impact, is very essential to discuss. So, like I said, that there are several mechanisms for tobacco control, and there are several laws for tobacco control. Health warning on tobacco product is one of them, and one of the best one, because that's what the consumer directly sees. So from the consumer point of view, this is one of the best example, and we will be surprised that now the focus is that when we talk of food labeling and any other product labeling, often the example of tobacco warning is given to adapt a good policy initiative for warnings or some sort of regulations on labeling of any kind of product. So this has become a benchmark globally for health measures. So just to explain to you that Framework Convention of Tobacco Control is a global treaty which India is part of, which India signed in 2004 May and ratified in February 2005. So we are an essential part of Framework Convention of Tobacco Control. The global health, the knowledge hub of smokeless tobacco housed in NICPR is part of that global health, treaty of WHO, and that treaty is an essential, guidelines for fight against tobacco globally. So we have about over 182 countries, more than 180 countries that are part of. So what we are discussing right now is being discussed and somehow formulated into laws and policies in more than 180 countries. So we are part of a global movement on tobacco control, and Framework Convention is part of that global movement, to which India is a very intrinsic part and has been a part for more than 2 decades now. So we are a very strong, part of the global movement on tobacco control through WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. Now, to implement the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, there are certain policies and guidelines that have been framed, which is like monitor tobacco use, protect people from tobacco use, smoke, offer help to quit, warn about the dangers of tobacco. That's one of the strongest policy of Framework Convention of Tobacco Control, is one of the main policy of empower. And warn means warning on tobacco products. So, like I said, that tobacco control is one thing. It's a huge policy movement. I'm not going into the health impact. I think there are enough studies and there to, to bring it to your notice. The fact that you see a warning of cancer, etc., on the face of the tobacco pack is enough to tell you that how harmful it is. But just for a general data, I'll tell you that as per Global Tobacco Survey of 2017, we have almost 27 crore tobacco users in India, and out of which and 13.5 lakh of tobacco users die every year. And so we have the highest rate of kind of one of the deaths that is happening annually, which 90% of oral cancer is in India, and 50% of cancer is due to tobacco. So these are certain data that has there. There is also global youth tobacco survey, which will say the mean age of initiation is very less than 10 years in some states. So we are standing in a major epidemic with respect to tobacco. And there are certain strong policy initiative that needs to be taken to deal with it. Every year, we have come out with some sort of a regulation in the last almost a decade. Recently, the OTT regulation has also come out. But one of the biggest strength has been warning on tobacco packets. And that's what we're going to discuss today. So to give you a context, there is a law called the Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Act. It's the name is slightly bigger. It's Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products, Prohibition of Advertisement, Trade, Commerce, etc. of Tobacco Products of 2003. But general term, we say Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Act of 2003. In a smaller abridged version, we call it COTPA. So COTPA came out in 2003, but implementation was from 1st May 2004. COTPA has objective in the initial chapters, and before the section start, there's a preamble which says to protect children from addicted to tobacco use, to take measure to save risk groups. But the main intrinsic part of the objective of COTPA is to discourage the use of tobacco and impose progressive restriction. That is the link between a warning on tobacco packet. We need to discourage it. And who do we discourage it? The person who buys the packet. And therefore, it's essential. Essentially, primarily, there are 4 major sections of COTPA, which is Section 4, which prohibits smoking in public place. Section 5, which prohibits all direct and indirect advertisements, sponsorship, and promotion of tobacco products. Then there is Section 6, which is in 2 parts. Section 6A, which prohibits a sale of tobacco products to minors or person below the age of 18 years. And Section 6B, which prohibits sale within 100 yards of any educational institution. And lastly, which I would deal with is Section 7, which is the main section which basically mandates that every tobacco pack should have a warning and which should be pictorial in nature. The word pictorial is mentioned in Section 7, which is very important. So if you can see the screen, I just want to tell you that COTPA essentially is of 30 sections, out of which majority of sections are dedicated to warning on tobacco packs. So that's how important it is. You have a definition in Section 3, you have Section 7, which gives you a detail of the warning. Then you have Section 8, which gives you a manner of warning, which you have 9, which gives you certain regulation, and then 10, which gives you further regulation. Then there are rule-making power in Section 31. But what I'm trying to say, that majority of sections of COTPA is dedicated to warning on tobacco packets. That's how important it is to this law. So that's how we should always deal. I don't think we should ever lose focus on the warning on tobacco packet, which has been our strength on tobacco control. So what does Section 7, 8, 9, 10 say? They say that all tobacco products, packages, whether produced, manufactured, imported into India, must have a health warning. The warning shall be pictorial in nature. It should be, there should be a picture. This pictorial word was added in 2007. So you must be there. There has been amendment to the act and added. But there has to be a compulsory warning on tobacco packet. The warning has to be pictorial. Warning must be legible and prominent. So you can easily see it, and it should be huge there, and it should be conspicuous as to size and color. So the warning should compulsory be there. The warning should be having a picture, and the warning should be conspicuous, legible, and prominent. So it should be big. So these are certain aspects of health warning which is required on every tobacco pack as per the main act COTPA. Then there are other sections like the packet should not have anything which would take or any statement which would be inconsistent or with warning or detracts from the warning. Package which says warning tobacco kills. You can't have a message saying tobacco is very, something very promotional kind of message can't be there. So that's also is mentioned in section 9 of the act. So details of the warning should be such which the anti-tobacco message, it gives you an impression which is against the use of tobacco products, and it is in such form as may be prescribed by rules. So time and again, whenever there is a talk of warning on tobacco package, there is a standalone certain guidelines are given. It should be big, it should be on every packet, it should be legible, it should not be consistent, there should not be inconsistent messages, but the details has to be through rules. So that's a link which is to be understandable, that the act lays down a broad framework how the warning should be, but the details of the warning, the images, how the message would appear, all that has to come through rules. So this is how now we get down to rules. So though the entire issue of warning on tobacco packet actually started from 2004 into litigation, but I would come out to main rules only, which is from 2008 to 2014. These are the main rules. So the first rules which came into force was notified in 2008, and 31st May 2009 was the cutoff date. And the warning that you see is of the scorpion and this, this X-ray lungs. This came out in 2000 from 31st May 2009. So this was the initial warning, which said 40% of the principal display area of the front panel of the pack, meaning that the warning would cover 40% of the front, only one side of the packet, not both sides. And how the warning would be? The warning would have a scorpion image or an X-ray lungs, etc. So this was which came out initially. The warning would be rotated every year. So why is rotation required? So that the consumer does not get used to one kind of picture. So in every 2 months, every 2 years, sorry, there has to be a change in the warnings. And this is not so you must understand, these are global standards. Any law on tobacco product is, like I discussed, comes directly from our discussion and this thing in the framework convention, and those discussions are brought out into our policies. And globally, the best practice is what we are looking at right now. So the warning has to be legible. The warning covers 40%, and the warning has to be rotated, means change. The image has to be changed every 2 years. It can be printed, pasted, or even affixed. This was the warning from 2008 to 2014, and there were changes in images. In 2014, there was a major leap when the new government came out, the current government, and that's when we first introduced warning, which was covering 85% of the principal display area of the pack. Means both sides of the pack 85%, not one side. So that was one major leap that we took. And at that time, we straight away became the number 3 in the world. So you see from from where we started from scorpion, covering 40% of one side, then you see the BD packet, smokeless packet, and the cigarette packet, all covering 40% of both sides of packet. The government at that time also came out with a public notice, so which basically said that the rules are coming into effect from such and such date, and it has to be on every packet. The 85% was is distributed into 60% picture and 25% text. So that's how it came out in 2014. So between 2016 and 18, there were changes in images and these are certain things. It came out to the man in the picture is basically the integral force which supported the warning. I just want to give you a brief description. He's Dr. Harshvardhan, who was or is basically an ENT surgeon. When he was the health minister of Delhi, he brought out the Prohibition of Smoking and Protection of Non-Smoker Health Act in 1996. So he's been associated with tobacco control for more than 2 decades. When he became the health minister, the first thing he came out with was this health warning. He had a 100-day agenda in which health warning was one of the major work that he came out. And this is a picture from the 31st May 2000 WNTD event in 2016. So this is the image that he came out with, and that's when he introduced this warning that came out that you see. So this initial warning was in 2017, and then what you see is 2018, the next set of images. So images have pictures, like you see, has a text message, and they are pictorial in nature as well as they are conspicuous as to size, as the law says. Though there are a lot of litigation that has happened. So from just to bring to your attention, from 2004, when our first public interest litigation was filed in Himachal High Court in Shimla, that's when the first warning was notified. And then it went to the Supreme Court. Then it went to several courts all over the country, from Bombay to Bangalore. And then when the new set of warning came out in 2014, those also went through several legal challenges from from Delhi, Bangalore, Calcutta, and finally the matter was settled by Supreme Court. So I'm only highlighting 2 orders from Supreme Court. One was for that 40% warning of that scorpion that you saw. It came through intervention of Supreme Court on 6th May 2009, when the court said that no, 31st May 2009, which is the deadline date where you will have that warning. So that's how the first set of warning came out on tobacco package. The second set came out in 2016 initially, but the final nail in the coffin through judicial support was on 8th January 2018. Again, both cases by Health for Million Trust, which is a civil society that supports tobacco control, but there were other partners which also supported this. But you must see the language that the court used, the Supreme Court used. It says that though a very good submission has been advanced by learned counter for respondent, and this warning will affect their business, we remain unimpressed. We are not impressed by their argument, as we are inclined to think so that health of a citizen has a primacy, and he or she should be aware of that which can affect or deteriorate the condition of health. Then they re-qualify it. They say, we may hasten to add that deterioration of health is a mild word, destruction of health is the correct word. So the court said that tobacco destroys health. That's the word they used. And they said this warning is in public interest. So we had judicial support before this warning came into the picture. And for both the initial stage, for 40% warning, as well as for the 85%. So what are the salient feature of the existing tobacco control, tobacco warning on, health warning on tobacco package? So the existing warning salient features are, which is given through rules, is that 85% of the principal display area, means both sides of the pack, would be covered. There will be no message, images, or pictures that would directly or indirectly promote the use of consumption of tobacco brand of use. There will be name of the product. These things we miss out. So it's important. There will be name of the product. There will be name and address of the manufacturer, importer, packager. There will be a detail on origin of the product. This is very essential for smuggled product, because most of the smuggled product do not have this detail of where it is coming from, or which is the importer that brought that product into India. And there has to be a quantity, how much the packet had, 10 cigarettes or 10 mg or 5 mg for smokeless tobacco, and the date of manufacture. So these are certain essential components which are part of the existing rules. Firstly, the size, 85%. Secondly, they should not have any message that goes against the spirit of the warning. And thirdly, those details, name of the product, address of the product. So these are there. First, then there should not be any information that is false, misleading. So how does that come into picture? Is that if you see certain packet used to mention mild, light, slim, they used to give the impression that these are safer products, which is how you counter that. So you cannot mention on the packet light or mild or something like that. Then the picture should not be covered, obscured or something while packing. So that's also a safeguard given. And there's a minimum size given of 3.5 into 4 centimeters. So these are certain salient feature of the law. So when you look at a packet for tobacco warning, it is not just the picture or just the text. You'll have to see each and every rules about the content, the details of the importer, the quantity, the date of manufacture, the address of the manufacturer. All are essentially part of this rule, which has, if it's not there, then it's a violation. Then the minimum size, etc. So these are certain salient features. So what is the existing image? How does it look is what you see on your screen. This has come from 1st December 2022, and it says the specified health warning should cover 85%. 60% is the image of cancer mouth. So this image is basically field tested. By field tested, I mean that before the government comes out with rules of the image, they first take it to several states, and there are series of pictures or images of such kind, and the one which gets the maximum support or vote of giving the best impact are chosen. So these are field tested, and these are images from Tata Memorial Hospital of real cancer patients. So they are real cancer patients whose images which are field tested. Second, apart from the images which cover 60%, there is a health message. Tobacco causes painful death. So that's a health message that is compulsory. And then there's a quit line number. So this is a quit line number that any user that sees can call, and this is mostly for cure. So if he wants to quit, he can call this number. This quit line number is being managed from Delhi, Patel Chest Institute. Dr. Rajkumar is the one who's leading this quit line, number, this thing, where when you call, you get counselors to help you out. So you see the package warning is just not image. It's also text, and it's also support for quitting. So this is the data from 2021 cancer report of pictorial warning. And as you see, India, in the top 10 country, India figures in the 8th position. We were number 3, but we are now in the 8th position, which is good. More countries are joining. And the best part is that Thailand, India, Nepal, Maldives, these are all South Asian countries. So our neighboring countries are leading the pictorial warning example. So when we did it, others followed. So that's something you should also keep in mind, that in global or in global tobacco control campaign, the examples from other countries are replicated by so we show a kind of beacon of light to other countries to follow. So in this case, we started with number 3 in 2014, and then slowly now but we're still in the top 10 in the 8th position. And the 8th position is held by 3 countries. which is there. But I want to basically bring it to all your audience that I personally take a lot of pride on health warning being part of the framing of rules as well as the court case, and the fact that the population wise, look, you can have a small country like Vanuatu coming up on Nepal, which is coming with law is not very, it's not as big as India, which is the highest population coming. So a policy gain by India is an example for others to follow. So that's how I see the tobacco control, that I mean, if you see the top 10, we are one of the biggest country that has come up with such a law, and therefore we stand tall in this achievement. And even top, if you see the rank also, somewhere you would see that India figures in the here topic. So these are the list of countries that have done, and we follow. And the whole series of if you see India, which is in the 8th position, 85 pitch where you see from, like I was showing you the journey, 2009, 11, 13, 16. So every year the images were changing, and that's what it's reported. It's still 2020 till 2020. After this, 2022 is one which I showed you before this one. So this is from 2020. So this, but we are still one of the top countries that are implementing this regulation. So just to take you from the images part, which I feel is important, that how we have progressed from this is a 1975 packet, where you said cigarette smoke is injurious to health. Then you see 2009, where you showed tobacco causes cancer. So from just cigarette, we shifted to all tobacco products. And from a text message, we shifted to picture message. So that's how the change. And every year, 2009, 2010, 2011, we are changing images. And this is what started coming in 2014. And this is the latest one. So is it impactful? I say yes, because in global, if you see the 2017 report, it says that 62% of the cigarette smoker and 54% of bidi smokers and 46% of the SLT users, they thought of quitting after seeing the warning. So it has an impact. And then, like I explained to you, there has been 6% prevalence from the previous GATS to now new GATS. So 81 lakh less tobacco users. So that's how I see the achievement of pack warning. So India is one of the global leaders. It has a very strong warning. And yes, the warnings are impactful. But nothing is without challenges. And and that's where we need to focus on. What happens is normally in everybody who's involved in policy making or a law, as soon as the law comes out, we kind of put our guards down and we relax. For a country such huge, big as India, enforcement and implementation is one challenge that we should always look into. That's something which you cannot ignore. And that's when the next part of my presentation starts, that there are certain challenges. So what are the challenges? We have packaged with no warning, or we have packaged with old warning. So though the warning changes every 2 years, there would be packet which would continue with old warning. There'll be smuggled packet which would have no warning, or there will be packet which will have a warning, but will not be as per the rules that have been there. So it's inconsistent with the rule. Then the specifications are also wrong. The enforcement is very weak of this law. There are very few instances of cases being filed for implementation of Section 7. Then there's a problem of single stick sale and do sale. And there are promotional insert. And there are also small packets. So these are certain challenges that we see. And so these are certain images where you have pictures of packet with no warning or incorrect warning, or warning with incorrect specifications. So here's the thing. So here, this is a packet of pine or mild. This you'll see very regularly, especially in Delhi NCR. These are all smuggled packets. So they are violation of Section 7 of CODPA because it has no warning. But other section also, these are foreign smuggled products. So it will not have the details of the importer. So not just a warning, even other provisions are being violated. It also violates the custom duties, another. So it has not paid the required duty, excise duty or custom duties also. So these are certain aspects that we need to look into. That there are a lot of smuggled product that is coming into India, which has no, which firstly does not have the warning, and secondly does not pay the duty. So it's an economic as well as a health loss. Second, the BD packets are the biggest one. Most of the BD packet that you see in the country will have image of the manufacturer. Totally wrong in the, and as per wrong with the specification. So these are certain stuff that we see. We also see warning like this, half up. So the warning, either there's no warning or the warning is inconsistent. You don't find these details, like I said, details of the product, manufacturer, origin of the product. Then there are other details that are also missing there in these. The second part is the small size pack. So this is something which came out after 2009 rules. This Marlboro packet had only 2 cigarettes. This one has, this is very small. Maybe under the guideline 3.5 centimeter into 4, but you can hardly read it. So this is a major challenge that we need to look into, from the point that that the size of the packet is not defined. And that is something. Size of the warning has been defined, 3.5 into 4, which is still small, but the packet size has not been defined. And that is something we can look into in the gaps that is weakening the law, and maybe some changes are required. So small size pack is a challenge that we still facing. Then promotional insert. So section 5 of COTPA allows advertisement inside the packet. And that's where you found this. So at one hand, you have a warning saying tobacco causes cancer. And inside, when you open the packet, you will get this feel the passion or some sort of a lottery ticket or something. So somewhere the attention is drawn away from the warning. So these are certain aspects that needs to be looked into, that they cannot have any promotional insert inside the packet. So that's another example. Then there are cartons. So the law does not give you any relaxation. The COTPA does not give you any relaxation as per the section 7. Every package, and package includes carton or small packet or big packet or even a box or even a tin kadaba. Everything included in the definition of package in the main law, which is COTPA. But why do these packet or these cartons, do not have? And these cartons are not for sale. They're just for advertisement. They're just for display. The reason being is that in the rules under industry pressure, there has been a relaxation given to carton that package which are not meant for consumer need not have. So my humble plea is this: if it is not meant for consumer, then why is it offered or displayed? And this is the most disturbing part is, and this is you see in a lot of retail outlet, is that this is provided by the industry, where you have a display board of cartons, and then there are compulsory racks which keeps children stuck. So what are you doing? You are promoting tobacco products and to a specifically targeted group, which are children. So this is something the governments need to address, that all package, whether it is a small packet or of 20 cigarette, or it's a carton of 10 packet, every packet should have the health warning. So that's one gap we are looking at. Whether retail or wholesale, all packets should have a health warning. Then there are the single stick sale example. So just for clarification, I'll say that though courts have held that if you sell tobacco products outside the package, it is in contravention of the basic regulations. It's in contravention of section 7 of the Act. Because the purpose, the spirit of the Act is that every consumer should see the warning. If you're selling it loose or outside the packet, they don't see. So loose cigarette sale, which is majority of 90% of I think the sale is in loose, has 2-3 disadvantages. Firstly, you don't get to see the health warning. Secondly, it's easier to purchase. So you see, these are priced 17, 15, 10 rupees, 7 rupees, 6 rupees. So a packet which otherwise cost you, 70 or 140 or, 350 or more is easily available to a child for 7 rupees to 15 rupees. So it leads to youth initiation uh, because it's sold loose and single. So apart from the consumer not seeing the health warning, if you sold loose, the children also get easy access to tobacco product. And the third is that illicit product. These are smuggled product which you see. That is not. So a lot of states, like I said, and this was highlighted in the tiny target study that was done by civil society with the support of the WHO and government, that 99%, 90.9% of the sale of cigarette and BDs were loose. But based on the court's observation that loose cigarette is in violation of COTPA, several state governments like Uttarakhand, Punjab, Rajasthan, Bihar, etc., they came out with some orders saying that that this is in violation of Section 7 and you can take action under Section 7(2) of COTPA. But I would still say, considering a country like India where implementation is a challenge, you need very clear law. You can't have ambiguous law. So there has to be clearly mentioned that loose sale or cigarette or loose sale is banned or sale outside package is banned. These are kind of languages that I'm looking for, and the law needs a reform. You also have an example of Himachal Pradesh coming out with a new act which banned sale of loose tobacco products. But just not sticking to the point that this is a major challenge. It impacts health warning, being a deterrent, the product, and it also impacts the of protection of minors from tobacco products. So these are certain things that we need to do. So what should be the way ahead? So way forward, and coming to the conclusion of my presentation, is that you need better enforcement. There are very few cases for implementation. I think the few example I've seen is only from Himachal, where a detailed process of search and seizure of non-compliant packet was taken, package was sealed, a complaint was filed case was filed before the judicial magistrate, and a judgment came out where the concerned shopkeeper was jailed for selling products with inconsistent or wrong warning. So a better enforcement is required all over the country of Section 7. Certain gaps have to be removed. So in this, I would highlight the bill of 2020, which was for public consultation in January 2021. It suggests three things, which would strengthen Section 7 of COTPA, which would strengthen the pack warning law, and which is the bill proposes ban on loose sale of tobacco product. The bill proposes a minimum quantity, meaning that there would be a quantity specified. So if you have, suppose, 20 cigarettes quantity or 20 minimum quantity, the packet will have to be of a certain size. Or if you have, suppose, 50 grams or something, the packet will have to be of certain size. So minimum quantity is something that is being done. Then there is a ban on illicit trade. Specific new section has been added to this law, COTPA, by banning illicit trade. And the penalty, which is very old, almost 2 decades old, of few thousand rupees, has been increased to lakhs. So there's increase in penalty, there's ban on illicit trade, there is a minimum quantity that is proposed, and there's ban on loose sale. So these are all part of the bill which deals with the gap and challenges that I discussed with you. And lastly, the best and most impactful on health warning on tobacco packet is plain packaging. So what is plain packaging? Is that the package will only have the warning and the name of the brand. It will all be of the same color. So if you go to a tobacco shop, all packet would look of the same color. You can only identify by the name of the brand, saying, I want this packet, so it will be. So the glamorization that is there is gone away, and this goes away from colorful packet. And secondly, all that you will see on my packet of cigarette or tobacco packet will be my warning. So the health warning would be most prominent, most visible if it comes in plain packaging, which should be our way forward and next. So better enforcement, removing the gaps, and plain packaging is something that we should aim for a way forward on this. But still, I take a lot of pride in saying that India is one of the best countries and the most popular, the biggest country that has developed and that has developed a policy and notified an implementation of policy which is on pack warning on tobacco product, and which has in the last 10 years shown up since 2014 and now has shown huge impact on tobacco control in general. So and considering we are out of 180 and above country, we are still in the top 10, means that we are in one of the best laws that we have in the world. And I would beseech everybody on and in fact, we should all come together to ensure that this wonderful law that we got through so much of challenges and court case is implemented in its letter and spirit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Indeed, we all actually share the pride that we have one of the most stringent laws when it actually comes about the tobacco control, and that has been actually been reflected in almost every twice a year, as soon as all the global reports actually comes into the table. Now the online session is now open for the question and answers, and we have few very important questions that I would actually request you to answer or at least share your wisdom on those. One is about as you very rightly said about the plain packaging, which is a future goal which all of us trying to get through. One of the question is that how we do have evidences on the cigarettes packs being as a plain packaging, but we haven't have any experiences on the smokeless tobacco. So do you see that the plain packaging can also be achieved in terms of smokeless tobacco packets?
Yes, I mean, look, in countries that have implemented plain packaging are mostly countries which deals with cigarettes. That's the most prevalent form of tobacco product. In India, if you have any law that is brought out, it's for all tobacco product which is given in schedule of COTPA, and which includes smoking form, which is your cigarettes, cheroots, cigars, bidi, and smokeless form, which is your chewing tobacco and kenny, etc. So the law that you would bring out in suppose plain packaging will essentially also have which also apply to smokeless tobacco products. So it will be all encompassing if you bring out the plain packaging law. And India needs to bring that law. India needs to make certain modification in the Act. So presently the Act Section 5 subclause 2 proviso allows advertisement on tobacco packet. So you have taken that advertisement 85% of that packet. But that 15% is still there with them. So to take that 15% and say introduce plain packaging, you will have to amend that law and delete that clause which allows them to advertise on packet. So that's one thing. So it is possible, yes, on all packet, and because the Act or law or rules apply to all packet. In fact, if you see the rules, it has two parts: smoking and smokeless. So the images are in two parts: smoking and smokeless. So samely, so when you'll have plain packaging, the images will be there for smoking and smokeless as well. The second part of the question that I was looking at was mostly to do with mostly to do with implementation challenges. Yes. So so these are they are in, like I showed, they are inconsistent warning. They're not as per specification. Please see, the rules very clearly give you specification of the warning, meaning what the size would be, what the what the text message would be, what would be the quit line number, where it will appear, what would be the color coding, what would be the pigmentation. Everything right up to the last percentage is given, and all those images are uploaded on NTCP website. So what you see, the blurred images or images not as per the specification, is all violation. And therefore, strict implementation is required. And going by your questions on other form, that why we don't have CBD, etc. and all. So you see the panel of expert group that deals with these images, they meet every 2 years, and then there's a whole range of products. And we look at global example also. And considering the huge number of people who are used to. So time and again, whenever we field test it, because these are the most startling and most, on the face kind of an impactful images, they are chosen, but they're chosen after field testing. But yes, I think we need to test other kind of images also to somehow, have some sort of variety in implementation. Yes.
So you are, I guess, most eligible, person to answer this, question is that why we can't, just ban the entire tobacco products, rather than having so much of the laws and the, warnings and so on and so forth. Why these, products can't be blanket banned completely?
So there's a phrase called a bird in hand is better than two in the bush. So better than what you will have in future, and that perspective and the best society, what you have in hand is one example. But tell me one thing. Suppose if I ban it, drugs is banned, electronic cigarettes are banned.
Yeah.
Don't you find electronic cigarettes online, offline, retail?
Everywhere.
So the law is a law in paper until you implement it. I will tell you, in India, tobacco product is banned. If I tell you that in 100 yards of any educational institution, which is your school, colleges, nursery, everything, you will, if you implement that strongly, you won't find tobacco shops in the country. So though there are structural arguments given, and the point is, when you reach out a policy, it is not given a day. Look, it has taken us 100 years to understand tobacco product. It started, the first law came in 75 when we got to know tobacco causes cancer. Before that, people were just smoking everywhere, and tobacco. So that's the first warning you saw in 75. In the 90s, when you start getting in scientific evidences of secondhand smoke, you had state government coming with law saying, protection of non-smoker health. Till then, even in aeroplane, bus stop, bus station, everywhere people were smoking. So this is a scientific law. As and when evidence comes out, you are getting into and the change is happening. But in that period of 50 years in understanding this product and more of it, what has happened is a huge market and livelihood of people have been initiated with it. So we have to holistic look at. Right now, the government is running 100 of programs where they are giving incentive to farmers to switch to other products, which is crop diversification program under Ministry of Agriculture. Then they are giving incentives to BD workers to switch on to start rolling in something else. They're teaching them new skills. So these would take time because they're traditional thing. But if I say, if you're serious about weeding out tobacco product, the first example is electronic cigarette is something we can easily, is the best example on your face. Despite the ban, is still the evidence are there. The second is the sale to within 100 yards of educational institution. If you implement that strongly, it would be as good as a ban. But right now, I would not be taking a negative view. I would rather take a positive view that we have enough strong laws. That is, let's just all join hands to, strongly enforce it. I mean, even Section 7, you hardly have 3 to 4 cases coming up in every year. You need to file more cases, complaints. So just by, even if I make a policy to ban it, I'm not sure whether it will be implemented in letter and spirit. We still have to struggle a lot to ensure. It's not like other countries. So let's just implement what we have.
So one question is on the very important stuff, which is actually the Adica nut, and they have actually raised that why this hasn't been since it hasn't been captured in the tobacco laws, how this has to be addressed. So though this is not the part of this webinar, it is entirely on the tobacco products strictly. But if you have any quick answer to it about the Adica nut.
Yeah, so look, there are enough evidence, and NIHFW was instrumental, which was directed by Supreme Court. We have submitted a 1500-page document, out of which half of it deals with areca nut, that how it, how it is cancer causing. But traditionally, the arguments are given about its traditional use, etc. But going away from it, the food safety law, it comes under food, areca nut, and the food safety law has a warning that chewing of supari is injurious to health. That's a compulsory warning that has to come on areca nut. This thing. So any product packaged having supari or flavors, etc., has to have that warning. But just to bring to your notice, I don't think many of us are aware, but the food safety has come out with a notification sometime in 2 years back and had to be implemented now, is that 50% of the pan masala packet, which is essentially areca nut mixed with, potato, spices, etc., have to have a warning saying, it's injurious to health. So there are policy which is there. We need to be kind of wary of those policies. But these are reasons, because if this is right now, tobacco pack warning is under COTPA and areca nut is under a different law. But there are activities, work going on to convince the government and the policymaker to have some sort of a warning on those packets also. And the warnings have already been notified there.
Okay, so yeah, thank you so much. So considering the time and all, I have two specific question to you. One is about that if you have any kind of a suggestion that you need some evidences on the tobacco warning from the institution like us who actually works on the evidence generation. So one is on that, and the next question is that do you think that now we need an index, at least a global index, which actually talks about the tobacco implementation scales, something on the implementation parts, not alone on the laws, just coming up with the new rules, but it is more about the implementation, and there each and every country can be ranked on.
So yeah, I mean, those are very good questions. And the first question itself, I would say, yes, we require more evidences, and evidences of the kind of two kinds. Firstly, I would say you can do a sample survey of the packets, and please do specifically BD packets and smokeless packet, because they are the most non-compliant. Cigarettes packets mostly are compliant, but the BD packets, specifically coming from West Bengal and other regions, are totally non-compliant, except one or two brands, I think 502 Pataka, etc. Most of the other products are non-compliant. I mean, most of the BD packet has an image of the manufacturer right in the middle of the warning. So that's one this thing, and that can only be done. So if you just present the evidence, and second is the loose sale, the outside packet sale, which is a major challenge. I think that evidence time and again has to be sent to the government, that the whole idea of pack warning is defeated if you allow loose packet or pack or sale outside packet. I think even for a consumer, it is dicey. You don't know if a packet is opened. I said, most of the product, there are laws that safeguard that you can't have an open packet. It has to be in sealed packet. Only here you don't have that. So what if he mixes tobacco with some other kind of drug or something and sell it? So that's another challenge that we need. So these are two aspects of a survey study that you could do, and you will find enough evidence of non-compliance there. The second part of it was that that's something I strongly feel, that most of the global data and most of the global report study only focus on the policy win.
Yes.
And the moment you have a pack warning, we are in the top 10 country and all. But the point is, reality is nobody goes and checks how effectively it's being implemented. And this is same thing for electronic cigarettes, same thing with rules for film, same thing for smoke-free laws. Our laws are mostly on paper because our implementation is not very strong. And this is not for India, even the neighboring countries are also facing the same challenges. So yes, there has to be some sort of an indicator, a graph, a study where they would indicate that yes, you have a warning, but on the scale of implementation, India is faring this much. That's only the pressure would rise. Otherwise, India, even on implementation, they're very good because of the National Tobacco Control Program.
Yes.
So they get away by saying, look, we have a robust program going on in more than 700 districts. But the ground reality is that, are they all compliant with the laws? Are you seeing the impact? So these are certain things that I would say that, yes, it's high time that we would start brooding, or we would start, reaching out to the global community and say that we need to change this and have a separate kind of indication, not just policy win, but also implementation goals.
Okay, so with this now we have come to the end of this webinar, and I highly appreciate and highly grateful to the Ranjit ji, who is always available for us to actually support our entire endeavor in the tobacco control. And thank you once again, Ranjit ji, for coming to our forum. And thank you each and every participants who have actually come over here and spare their time with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.